Welcome back to the More Smarter Show, the #1 business mindset and strategy podcast with your hosts, Jake and Dylan. This is episode 50.
50. Let's go.
This is a big
I feel like we
number.
should do Roman numerals at this point.
Like the Super Bowl.
Yeah, L. Isn't it L, I think, for 50?
That's right.
Jake, what do we have on the agenda today? This is a special podcast here.
Special podcast. Dr. Rob Yonover. Dr. Rob is currently located in Hawaii, and there's a lot of cool things about him. He's Doc, you're an author. You've been on many podcasts. You've built businesses. But I think the coolest thing about you so far is the fact that you were on season 8 of Shark Tank back in 2017. Is that right?
Absolutely right. And I talked smack to Mark Cuban when he was around, and I looked down on Mr. Wonderful's bald head. Absolutely.
So what were you on Shark Tank for? Tell us about your product.
Okay. Well, I'm a PhD scientist. I work on volcanoes. I surf big waves. I fish rough water. I'm always on the edge of dying. So it came apparent to me that I should think about that. And I solved one of the big problems of search and rescue, which is locating people when they're lost at sea or in the mountains. I invented a longhorn streamer. You can see it in the background there. And it's a real simple device. I got it military funded, approved, patented, all that. It's on military F-16s. It's on SpaceX. And I got it on Shark Tank. I stood in line in Waikiki with 400 people, got up at 5 a.m. like it was a surf trip, and got on. I didn't fun, and I talked smack then, and I kept making the cut till I got all the way to LA and filmed it. And it was incredible experience. A lot of pressure. I mean, you think this is pressure for me to have you guys doubling up on me. Imagine 5 sharks.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're not like Mark Cuban and all them. Yeah.
I know. Well, you're close, but
Yeah.
young version.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. So that's interesting. I didn't know that you had to, I guess I didn't really think about what the process was to get
Yeah. No,
Shark
I'd like to
Tank.
say that because I don't want people to think like my cousin got me on the show. No, I got in line with 400 people. They didn't know me. I didn't know them. And I did the process, it was like American Idol, I guess, that whole.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very, and I was an older guy at the time, which is only 8 or 9 years ago. I'm older now than I was then, but I was older then. I was old then. So the point is, I wasn't like a young whippersnapper, but I had the experience and I had given talks my whole life. So I wasn't afraid of the presentation. And I had the streamer had pretty matured. It saved some lives. Military approved it. We had a bunch of sales. So I knew I was ahead of people going in, and I had it's a nice product that you can show, and it would make good TV. So I was confident. But one of the things they made me do, which I'm not comfortable with, which was as I got further down the line, is they want me to memorize my pitch. And I do not do that. I am an ad lib guy. I mean, I'm prepared heavily. I'm a bullet point guy. Even talking to you guys, as you're listening to me, I can tell whether you're tracking or not. If you're starting to lose interest, I change the intonation of my voice or what I'm saying. So for me to memorize shit, it's not as good. And Sure enough, they didn't like it in LA when I did it to the producers. And they said, hey, we liked your question and answer, but we didn't like your pitch. It was a little stiff. I go, yeah, because you guys made me memorize it. And then my other producer said, you don't have to memorize. I go, okay, there you go. And then they let me loose.
So is that tryout session the same as if I were watching Shark Tank and saw you on there? Is it the same sort of presentation, or do they just ask question and answer? How does that work?
No, it's the same thing. It's like in the studio, and there's a separate part of the studio before you have to. That's like the final cut. You have to pitch to all the producers, and you have your whole display there and all that. But because I was really nervous and I was trying to memorize something that I've said 1,000 times on my own in my own words, and these were my own words, but still memorization, I don't like that. I really, and you guys know when you lose your audience, when you start reading shit, I don't read anything to anyone unless it's something I've written that you want me to read to you. But it's more like you have to have a give and take and body language and just everything. Yep. And that's why I like this podcast format. I like the telephone too. I don't know if you guys know what a telephone is.
A cell phone?
Yeah, here you go. This is my phone.
Wow.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
So that's if for YouTube watchers, that is something I haven't seen in
Yeah,
20
you
years.
see these
What is that?
buttons? It's a
Yeah.
sewn in. This is like a military grade. You know, when I send you a text, it's A, B, B, C, D, D, a letter at a time, and you've earned it if I sent you a text. And I have no apps on it. I mean, I could do the whole show on how I hate smartphones. And I was the first person in '07 to say the Apple One smartphone is bullshit because it's going to make us all idiots. And it did. And that was 10 years ago. So actually 20 years ago.
Yeah,
So,
20.
and now AI is the final touch.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You guys are all morons. So now, anyway.
Well, what's so funny though is you think of entrepreneurs. I mean, even back in 2017 too.
Right.
It's
right.
tech. It's all tech.
Yeah.
Stuff. And to
Right.
see that you kind of are an entrepreneur of a physical product.
Yeah,
It's not.
I'm actually a totally different person. I'm an inventor and I'm a scientist, and I look to nature. You ever heard of the term biomimicry? You mimic biology. So, well, like for the streamer, to get it to unfurl and stay elongate like that, I patented struts in it, so it's segmented like a centipede or a caterpillar. So there again, nature is the answer. That's why I'd rather not look at a phone or apps or beautiful pictures. I'd rather go into nature and think, use your head. So I'm kind of a old school inventor in that way. And I think it's really, really important. And like when I was a kid, if you watch TV all day, we made fun of you endlessly. Okay. Now, how is it okay that everyone has a color TV in their pocket? And you're not even watching shows. You're only watching 3-second clips, you know, and, you know, the beautiful women part, that's fine. The sexuality, that's fine. That's a useful use for it, for men and women.
Yeah.
But other than that, to watch, I always tell people, if you have idiot friends, you are an idiot, right? So who do you follow? If you follow brilliant people writing great things, and I used to argue that I like Facebook and Instagram because it gives you links to read good stuff. But most people aren't doing that. Most people are just scrolling.
It used to be you're the average of the 5 friends you hang around most, and now it's you're the average of the 5 followers you see their feed the most. Like,
exactly. Right, but they're so fake. 5
exactly.
The followers have cultivated this persona that's bullshit. But
and then there's this whole sub problem of, you know, if you're one side politically and all of your content is supporting that side, then you don't even know what the other side is talking about.
Exactly. And you guys know it. When you get stuck scrolling on one thing, guess what your feed is the next day, you know, or the next minute. And the other thing is you might be doing something else, but if you left your device looking at something, that thinks you're looking. So anyway, it's one of my pet peeves.
So Meta, if you're listening to this, I hate science, seriously. So do not give me science shit after we post this YouTube video, please. I don't want any more science.
Exactly. That's funny. No, it's hard, but in fact, I wasn't a great fit for Shark Tank because, you know, I was a real hands-on inventor of a piece of hardware technology. I think they loved it. Mark Cuban was so bored out of his gourd that he loved talking to me. He was talking to me about my volcano work and this and that. And Mr. Wonderful finally said, stop talking to him about volcanoes. Talk to him about streamer. And he goes, I could talk to this guy all day. And it's like,
that's awesome.
The guy's bored. So, you know, I understand it. And I think the other thing that the phone and the apps do is make us fatter and lazier. Push a button. Here comes food. Push a button. I don't have to do shit. I can just keep pushing buttons and things come to me. That's horrible.
It's bad. It's bad. No, I completely agree. I mean,
how old are you guys? How old are you guys?
I'm 23.
Okay,
how old do you think I am? I'm not 23.
You look older than him. 26?
33.
33. All right.
Yeah, we got 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, I got kids that are older than you guys. So, but the point is, you guys, 33, you might have got away with texting only in high school, correct? Did you have a smartphone in high school? You might have.
Getting into high school, yes.
Yeah, see, you guys are screwed. See, no offense, but to have grown up with a smartphone is horrible. And then they made it so they glorified it. Like, we're all going to be smarter from these phones. But
Rob, I had a smartphone in 6th grade.
I know, that's horrible. Your parents should be thrown in jail. No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. You guys are doing great, and I commend you both on your personality and ability to carry a conversation and look someone in the eyes. I mean, I know we're on camera, but you're looking, you're tracking, you're talking, you're not looking at your device. So it's encouraging for a 23 and a 53-year-old in this day and age. So I commend you for that. I'm not blaming you guys for all the
Yeah.
smartphone
Thank you.
problems.
Thank you.
No, totally appreciate that.
So Shark Tank, like, give us the scoop. Like, who's an asshole? Who are you shooting the shit with? We want everything.
Well, the thing is that, first of all, they make you stand out there for 40 seconds or something do a stare down before you start pitching.
Okay.
After you walk down that shark thing, which was really pretty cool. But then there was a lot of pressure. So all these cameras are following me, and I know 9 or 19, I forget how many million people are going to be watching it. And I played a basketball when I was a kid, and I understand the whole stare down, like in a boxing match, you guys stare at each other. So I'm like, and they want you to do that. So I'm staring at each one of them. I'm like, okay. And I just can't, I went to my, I'm going to kick your ass. You know, that's kind of how I had to keep. And the other thing was beforehand, they let you in there to check on your display. And they said it's going to be really cold in there, and it's going to be really loud in between takes. So they don't want the sharks falling asleep from boredom, you know, from selling the cupcakes or whatever they're doing. So I get in there, and Mark Cuban has like an apron from makeup, and they're doing his makeup, and he's looking at his smartphone. I'm like, and this is the first time I've seen the guy, and I'm like, oh, look at these guys. And then in the background, that song, I Like Big Butt, which I thought was really apropos, because I thought, okay, I'm going to kick their ass. And the other thing was they let me pick who I was going to demo with, because I wanted someone to unfurl the streamer. So I picked Mr. Wonderful for a couple of reasons. One is I knew he was short. Obviously, he's bald. No offense to bald people, but he's kind of an asshole on the show, right? He gives everyone. And a friend of this woman I met from Hawaii was in the same band with me. She went on, and he called her a deer in the headlights about to get smashed. And I'm like, oh, man, that's so mean. I mean, she was 23 or she was young. Like, and so I think I'm getting this guy back. So I figured on national TV, I'm going to look down on his bald head. I knew he was short. So when I had the streamer, I powered over him. I'm only 6'1", but he's not. He's like 5'8". Then when he unfurled the streamer, I knew they were going to make a crack about it. And they said, keep going, get lost. So it worked out. I found them to be really nice, those guys. They were cool. They're not that smart, you know, no offense. Cuban smart. That's why he was interested in the science, volcanoes, because he's bored about cupcakes. But, you know, the others like had trouble understanding the streamer. Luckily, I had put it down to a before and after picture, so it was obvious. So that played well into my presentation. And they were cool. They showed me a lot of. They said going to save lives. They said they love the technology. They just said they couldn't help me. And, you know, that's fine. I mean, it was disappointing because I had asked for a very low valuation and a low investment because I thought there'd be a bidding war. Because what I couldn't believe, and I still to this day couldn't believe, I told them with all the passion I had, which is truthful, that saving these lives, and a couple of guys I met that used the stream, and it saved their lives. One was a military guy, one was a skin diver. And I'm like, I told them how great that felt. And I'm like, you guys can feel this same thing, and we can save thousands of lives. That did not register. Yeah. They didn't give a shit. They cared about money. So that was shocking to me. The level of greed. And I understand it's a show about business and you're going to make money, but you know, they throw money to people that have some sob story.
I know.
That always bothers me. Yeah.
I know. It's like, you know, it is TV though. That to me says how boring the subject matter is. You know, if they're selling cupcakes and, you know, most of it is food and little apps that people make or whatever they're making, that they have to go to the human interest level because that makes it better TV. And I understand it. And even my son, my wife, she had MS and she was in a wheelchair for her last 19 years. I took care of her she was paralyzed and raised my little kids. And so I wanted to get that in, but I didn't want to dwell on that story on, you know, national TV. And my son kept saying, you better not cry on national TV. I go, don't worry about it, idiot. I'm not crying. Anyway, so it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But it was not funny for me. I was pissed off because, and then afterward they interviewed me and they said, you know, are you disappointed? I go, yeah, I'm disappointed. They'd rather invest in cupcakes than saving lives. It was the greatest post-interview line of all time. And of course they could never use it because
Damn.
That's an indictment of the
Maybe.
whole show.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, you see, like that is something that you never really think of that too, where it's a show at the end of the day where they're just
Right.
trying to, get views on the show.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
I'm maybe this isn't a question for you, but like the back end of it, right, is like these people are only here to make a return on any investment, like to invest.
Yeah. But it's
So,
also a show for them. They're showcasing their personality.
And that's part of the
Yeah.
return, right? If they're going to be the best person ever and invest into some sob story,
Right.
there's personality return, there's PR return on that.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, they failed on my side, because if you went to social media after mine aired, people were outraged because they couldn't believe they didn't invest in my thing. And if you watch the hour of my show, booty pants, wine sippy cups, and a backpack that's hard to cut into all got funded. Everyone got funded but me. So that was hard for people. And they started defending themselves online. I don't think it was them. It was their people that do their social media, saying, we love the technology. We know it's going to save lives. We just couldn't help him because he knows more about the military. So it was interesting the way they handled it. And it was cool, though. I enjoyed the experience, and then it's proved to be a great experience. My brother was like, don't do it. They're going to make you look bad. I'm like, I'm not scared of these guys. I don't really give a shit. I've given enough talks. I gave talks in Europe to all the heads of all these militaries over there. That was the most nervous I've ever been. That was way different. This is a TV show. And the other thing is, it's real. It's absolutely real. I did not know them. I knew who they were. They did not know me. I walk in there, they have my name. That's it. So the pitch was real. No one tells me, oh, that sounded good, say that again, or can you talk more? There was no one. It was me and those 5 sharks for like an hour. You see,
How do
like
they
7 minutes.
confirm that you're telling the truth when you're talking numbers?
Yeah. For 3 months beforehand, 50-page documents of, you have to, due diligence and all that, and then 50-page agreement I signed. I probably could get sued for what I just said on your show, but I'll take that as good PR. I'll say, no, I didn't mean it.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, I think what happens is a lot, and this is not my knowledge, but I've heard this, that a lot of the deals that get funded on the air fall apart after the last step of due diligence.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wasn't worried about that, and in fact, it was a blessing in disguise, because first of all, if you get on there trying to get PR only, they're not going to let you on the show. So I genuinely wanted to make a deal. But once it fell apart, I'm like, this is good, because I'm free of them. I still didn't know if I would be aired. So 6 months later, 2 weeks out, they finally said, you're going to be on. And it was like the second to last show of the season. I almost didn't make it, because if you don't get funded, there was no banter about negotiating with my segment. So there was none of that. So it makes it even less likely that it's going to air. But once they aired it, they've rerun it over 100 times. I've lost count on CNBC, which is unbelievable. And people all over the world see that. So I get emails from military people who want to represent me in Dubai, or, crazy stuff that they saw me on Shark Tank, which is weird. And it's never ending. And then someone picked up my pitch and put it on TikTok. I had nothing to do with it, and it got 16 million hits.
I was one of them.
Okay, all right, you saw it, or
I
you
saw
didn't?
it.
You picked it up, and then
No. I was one of 16 million.
Yeah, then it got picked up on YouTube a couple months ago. 58 million people. So I'm like, you can't buy publicity like that. And in the PR world, and you guys, in the business show, PR is everything to me, because it's third-party endorsement. You want someone to write about you that you don't pay to say something. So this is, I mean, I'm saying what I'm saying on the show, but they're coming back. So it was the greatest 7-minute commercial I could have ever bought. And it has a life of its own. It keeps going.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, it's just like podcasts. So
exactly.
So you had, from the time that you finished the recording to 6 months. It was that 6-month stretch, just like business as usual.
Absolutely. I'm just worried. I mean, I worry that, how are they going to make me look? Am I going to get on? Those were the 2 big worries. And a couple things happened in there that were a little weird about. There was a little confrontation on pricing, and I don't know how I made a couple mistakes. I made one major mistake. I didn't talk about my I had just taken my license back. So I had just started my own manufacturing again. So I misquoted one of the costs of the items, and it was for the fighter pilot version. And Lori took offense to that. And the way she handled it was not cool. I was really pissed at her. So then 6 months go by. I'm like, how are they going to show that? And they never showed that. So that first of all, I got the call. I'm going to make it because I'm also sweating the season. So 6 months, here's the season. I know this is the season I shot for. We're up to episode or week 22, or I'm season 8, episode 22. And I think there are only 23 weeks in the season. So it was the second to last thing. And I got the call. I'm like, okay, I'm in. So I'm like, and then, watching it also was live for me, like it was.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they cut it. And so it worked out. I mean, again, people were pissed, and people still now. It's weird how people that have seen it, like right after, they feel so bad for me. Oh man, sorry that didn't work out. I mean, I'm like, don't worry, I don't lose any sleep on it because I knew that forget the funding, the fact that the PR hit was going to be massive. I didn't even think of TikTok and YouTube. I didn't think TikTok was around, but all that stuff, and it's got a huge life of its own. And I went into the hair and makeup trailer, and they made me prettier than I am,
Nice.
and then it locks me in at 50. I think I was 57. I'm 60. It's 67 now. 57 years old. People are asking me all the time, "Hey man, what happened?" I go, "Shit, I'm old. That's what happened. I'm 10 years older."
So let's dive deeper into the actual product and also your valuation, because you went on to Shark Tank with the offer to them. So tell us about the product.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even look. The deal was, and this almost blew their head off, and I knew it would because I got up there and showed them the technology with a before and after picture, basically without the streamer, and if you shoot your flare, smoke, or sea dye in the water or land, they all go away in seconds, and they fly over you, and your head is as big as a coconut in the water, or floating coconut, or a rock on the mountain. So either way, they don't see you. So it happens all the time, and it's better to have a 25 or 40-foot orange tail. So I solved the problem. I'm like, I got this idea that this is such an obvious idea, and I had a licensee, and I knew that they're going to say, they like the idea, and they go, "Oh, you have any sales?" And this is when I knew I was going to put it off. I go, "Yeah, 15 million. They're like, "What?" But it was over 15 years. I had a licensee that licensed it for 15 years. By the way, talk to anyone about licensing. No one has a license last 15 years.
Yeah.
That says a lot. And the way I wrote it, it was a profit sharing license agreement. So they owned the company for those 15 years if we ever sold it. And at the end, the other thing that I encourage all business people to do, if you really like your product or business and you get embedded with investors or licensees, make sure you get it back at the end. So, I'm on year 41. That's when I thought of this idea. You guys weren't alive when I thought of this idea. So I've been working this forever in the background here or there. I never gave up on it. So I had all that going, and I'm like, I got to get a mandate. So I wanted to get the mandate where it's required. That was the mistake I made with Shark Tank, was to push that, because Mark Cuban goes, that's bimodal. That's, you either get it all or you're going to fail. So he didn't like that. But my idea was to sell the consumer and military, but in the background, try to make it mandated for life rafts, life jackets, flight jackets, airlines, whatever it is. But I thought that if I put the price point, I'm only making, let's say at the time, $250,000 in sales. So if you go 15 million for 15 years, that's $1 million a year. Then it dropped to $250,000, and they go, "Why did it drop?" I go, "Because I don't have a company around me anymore. I'm not a licensee." So I thought, I'll just ask for 200,000, or I forgot, and I valued it at maybe $1 million or something, low, because it can make a fortune if it's done right. But and the producers kept warning me, don't overprice it, because then the whole segment will be dissecting why you.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll go so low on the price, what I value the company at, and what I'm asking, which is 200,000, which is nothing for these guys. I should have said it's worth 10 million and I won $500,000. I probably would have got a deal. It's
Honestly, you're
ironic.
probably right because yeah, no, that yeah,
You know how they are.
get
Everyone.
involved with something too little. Probably.
Right, and they also thought, and Mark Cuban, rightfully so, it's going to cost way more to do everything. I know, but that's not the way I would do it. I would take the 200 and go in to get a lobbyist, and we lobby the Coast Guard or the FAA to require this. That's where I wanted to put the money and the influence. I thought Mark Cuban and I should go to Washington and meet some big time senator that's in charge of the transportation or someone like that. So it becomes an issue. And we had the platform, 60 million people saw it on Shark Tank. It's going to save lives. It's already saved lives. I still think that's the play, but you know what? It's going to happen after I'm dead probably, but that's okay too.
So so to go back to the licensee part,
right.
was that a choice that you made, or was that
yeah. Years ago, I'd read about licensing and I learned about it, and my dream, I'm a surfer, and I'm an inventor and I'm a scientist. The dream was always mailbox money. You go to your mailbox and there's a check, right? So I thought that's really making it when someone else is running it. And I also, my family, we were really encouraged to be entrepreneurial. There was a plaque in my parents' house. It's just say no to real jobs. And if anyone of us, if we got a real job, we were kind of frowned upon in my family.
That's like really uncommon, especially in that era.
I know.
That's like really
right. And my brother, my sister, myself. I mean, we've had real jobs, but only, as I call them, day jobs. But I very encourage day jobs. But at night and weekends, you work on your passion project, whatever it is. You want to be podcaster, musician, rock star, whatever it is, inventor. You need cash flow. And to start a project, it takes twice as long and twice as much money. So for that reason, I'm like, the best way to do that is a licensing deal. And then as I learned about licensing, I realized that they only pay based on sales. Right? You get an X% of the sales. I'm like, this is too sketchy, especially with a wife in a wheelchair. I couldn't make, and I couldn't make a constant flow of income. So the 15-year license I signed was a profit-sharing license agreement, as I said earlier, where they were owners, but they had to pay a minimum royalty. So I got like 7% of gross sales or $100,000, let's say, for example, whichever is greater. So there was that, and that really saved my ass for so many reasons. And, they did, but, you lose control. It's theirs to run with, but I got the mailbox money that I needed to perpetuate my life. Yeah. And it was really cool. And I couldn't do it after that.
So then, but after that 15-year span, because you wrote it up that way, you were able to take full control over the company.
Right. Exactly. In fact, I bought back for 15 years, they had a full factory facility here in Hawaii. And after 15 years, I bought back all his material and got a warehouse for myself. And then I tried for a couple of years to license it again, and no one was willing to give me guaranteed royalties again. So, and I just couldn't risk it. And the irony is the guy that makes my surfboards on the North Shore said, "Hey, you know how to make them?" I go, "Yeah, I invented how to build them." He goes, "Well, make them yourself and keep all the money." And I'm like, damn, that's a simple idea, because that's what a craftsman would think. And sure enough, that's what I've done. So I took it all back. And again, because in the license agreement, it says all enhancements, modifications, and improvements belong to me, and at the end of this, it all belongs to me still. You're renting it. But it was endless. If the guy paid, he could have got another 15 years, another 20. I would have kept doing it. But he decided that he couldn't afford to do it, even though he was making $1 million a year on the average, but still it wasn't, which was a blessing to me, because now I'm free to do it. And I modified it. I put chem lights on it. I modified the fighter pilot version. So I'm now more in control of my baby, my invention. So I really enjoy it.
And you have your own manufacturing site now and all that.
Yeah. But it's very small, and it contracts and grows as needed, which is ideal. It's optimized. See, the thing about a regular company is they have like 10 employees, and they got to pay them whether there's an order or not. I don't have to do that. When I can make small orders, I keep a small staff. My kids help me, my brother that advise me. I have people that advise me, and I have people that actually do the work that help me, and I do the work too. And I quality control every one of them. So as it grows, I add more people for a big contract. If the Canadian Air Force wants them for all their flight jackets, I've got to grow. If the Singapore Air Force wants this for their fighter jets, so it expands and contracts, which is really the ideal way to run a business, in my opinion.
That's
Because
amazing. Yeah.
the way I see business is, if you believe in your business, you got to play the long game. And you guys heard of the tortoise and the hare? Remember that fable?
I do remember that.
I am the ultimate tortoise. Look, I've been doing this. I thought of this in 85, 41 years ago, 42. I thought of this idea, and I've hundreds of ideas. I have a bunch of patents. This was the one that never went away. I'm like, this one's right. I know it's right. I don't care if people give me shit and say it's not right. I'm going. And
You know what's so
whatever it
great
takes.
about it is it's so obvious and easy to explain. It's what they say too. If you can explain it to your grandma in 10 seconds, it's probably
Exactly.
a business. And this
Right,
is just
exactly.
like so much that.
Exactly. And even I built the company on a picture that I took in my mind that I later really took, which was the before and after. I got a helicopter. This is before drones. I paid a guy in a helicopter to fly above me in the boat, and I put my buddy in the ocean. I got out of the picture, and he took a picture with just him. It's all blue sky. And I say, where's the guy? Then I went back and gave him a streamer, and then there's a guy with an orange tail. That picture, which is like 40 years old, I put a before and after that picture on my business card now. I can explain it in 5 seconds.
5 seconds now.
To anyone.
Yeah.
So, and you're right, the simplicity of it, but the simplicity of it bothers people too, like the military. Like, for instance, SpaceX, it's a $1 billion aircraft. It's got my $100 piece of plastic on it. Isn't that beautiful? But at first they don't, they're adverse to something changing the way they do things. Not SpaceX, but the military in general. Because for hundreds of years, they use smoke and flares for signaling and CDI marker. And those are all fine, but this is better. It's continuous.
Offensive to them how simple this is.
It is. And a surfer, and I was young, 40 years ago, I was young. I was your guys' age. So here's this surfer from Hawaii that's a volcanologist telling them that this is the way to do it, a piece of plastic. They're saying, get out of here. So, but I had a day job, and I never got out of there. And I consider myself a polite pain in the ass. I'm going to keep prodding you politely.
That's a good
You ever heard of Outside Magazine? You heard of that? It's not.
Yes.
I don't know if it's around anymore.
Yeah.
I talked to them for 3 years before they wrote an article about it. And by the way, that's how I built this whole company. My brother was in marketing advertising, and he told me there's editors sitting on their ass every day wondering what to write about. You got to tell them. So I worked the media. I got a book that's probably 12 inches thick it's been in Outside Magazine, Men's Journal. You're too young, but in the old days, it was all magazines. It wasn't internet.
Yeah.
But Playboy, I got it in Playboy, got it on CNN, Discovery Channel,
So
and just endless.
So those are all awesome, obviously. How in the world did you get into SpaceX?
Well, the thing I love and hate most in business is the trade show. Okay. Now I hate them for obvious reasons. You got to go travel to Timbuktu. For me, I got to shave and put a suit and tie on. But what it does is it enables you to rub shoulders with the players in that field. So 40 years ago, I got involved with a military survival group. There's an international group called SAFE Association, and it's military survival people from all over the world, literally, that meet once a year. And I walked the floor first. And again, because the streamer is so simple, I'd have one in my pocket before I had a booth, and I could pitch there, but I'd have to steal guys from other people's booths. So as I got more successful, I got my own booth that looks just like what I'm standing here now. It's basically something just like this. So people walk by and I do my pitch, and these kids, I call them kids, they were guys your age, a guy and a woman walk by, and they say they're, at this show there's all the military, but there's also NASA, SpaceX. These people walk by, special forces. You never know who is anyone. First of all, rule number one. I had one year, an old lady came back by my booth. She could barely walk, And she asked me about it. I took full time to explain it to her. I didn't say, "Oh, you're of no value. I'm not talking to you." I explained it to her. She says, "Oh, I'll come back with my husband." Brings her husband back. He's an admiral, so you never know who you're talking to. So these young people they said they were from SpaceX. I barely believed them, but they were. And they asked me about it. I gave them my pitch and then never heard from them. Then 2 weeks before the first SpaceX mission, the manned mission, I get an email saying, "Hey, you got a material data sheet on the streamer?" I'm like, "Well, why?" And they go, "Well, it's going up on the launch in 2 weeks. And we need to make sure it's not going to take the whole spacecraft down." I'm like, "Okay, it's just a piece of plastic." So I shot it out. And then afterward, I talked to them and I said, "Hey, can I get one that went to space?" And they go, "No, no one asked us that. No." So, but it's cool. And
Cool.
the thing as my experience in life was I got a grant when I was working on my PhD. I got to work on submarine volcanoes off Galapagos. So you've seen the movie Titanic, right?
Yeah,
That red and white submersible, the Alvin submersible. I got to go down in that for my PhD off Galapagos to see submarine volcanoes 2 miles down on the ocean floor, which was awesome. 2 hours to get down, 4 on the bottom and 2 to get up, taking lava samples. That's what I analyzed for my PhD. And then I got a grant. I wrote a grant for my former professor in NASA. He went to NASA, Johnson Space Center. So I got a grant to work on my samples with a laser system at NASA. And they were starting to take astronauts to space. So my dream was to be the first human that went to deep inner space, the ocean, and then outer space. But then Challenger crashed and they stopped taking scientists.
85.
So
yeah.
yeah, exactly. So the closest I've ever come is my DNA went to space because the ones they took to SpaceX, I quality assure all of them. So my thumbprints went to space. That's how I live.
So you have a science background, like you're describing. You're into, is it a volcanist? Is that
Yeah, volcanologist.
volcanologist?
Geochemist.
My bad. I was way off on that one.
That's okay.
So how?
It's not Spock.
So
Yeah.
from going from that into creating a business of that, like business is a whole nother world to science, right? But it also sounds like you were raised in that type of environment.
Yes, that's it. I mean, you can say that, and that's true. Most scientists, number one, can't speak eloquently and simply. I'm a good speaker. Most scientists, you can't understand what they're saying, and that's one of the things I pride myself on, is the ability to explain complicated things. But my whole life, we were running businesses because my father started a mail order company in his bedroom, grew into our house, into a building, into a structure where he had his office. And we grew up working for my father, seeing his flexibility. And I wrote a book called Hardcore Inventing, and the working title was an homage to my father, which was Inventing in Your Underwear. The guy used to work in his underwear at the house. It's not even a big thing now because of podcasting.
Yeah, I'm wearing underwear right now.
Exactly,
exactly.
But back in the 60s, 70s, I used to say to him, "Hey, Dad, put on some pants. My friends are coming over." That was, and he had phones ringing in his house from his office, and he had 2 phones in his bathroom before cell phones when they were wired. My friends used to say, "Man, let me see the phone in the bathroom," and I should tell them one was red, the other was like beige. I go, "Yeah, that red one's for the White House." That was bullshit. But and then as a kid, we just in our neighborhood, I was encouraged to be entrepreneurial. So one of my first, and I've had a million jobs. I was a pool boy. I sold shoes. We were encouraged to work hard. So don't get me wrong. Never say, we didn't have a regular job, but we did.
You're working more smarter, right?
Yeah. And then even as a little kid in elementary school, you know what blow pops are?
Yes.
Okay. Well, blow. If you look at the history of blow pops, the year they came out, I think I was in elementary school. So it was like 60 years ago. It was a long time ago. And they were the rage, right? You get a popsicle and bubble gum in it. So, and then I figured out a way I could buy a box of them and take them to school and resell them. So that was like one of my first gigs. And then we also had a pet alligator. I grew up in Miami, and I had a little alligator, and we would take it around the neighborhood and charge people little shit like that. We were always doing something.
You're on circus.
Yeah, we had this machine that if you put a nickel on it, his hand would take it. You ever see that? It was like a little box. You put a nickel or a quarter on it, and it was like cousin it would come out of the box and take the nickel. We used to take that around the neighborhood and get nickels. That's when a nickel
It's
would buy you something.
the entrepreneurial spirit right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
It's
it.
off the hook, and that's why I love talking to people about it. And I'm trying. And the other thing that I'm very much against, and I was part of the tech world. I was part of a blue startups, a tech startup thing, and the whole thing in their world is to grow fast, grow hard, grow fast, get investors. I am the opposite. I do not want investors because investors force you to either grow fast or and I don't want, if it's one of my ideas like the streamer, I don't want it failing and then having the investors having a rummage sale and selling the patents. So I always encourage people to grow slow and keep a day job so you can keep it, right? So and again, it's not like most people.
Totally, which I imagine it was a lesson learned from not getting a deal at Shark.
Yeah, I mean, again, the more after the filming, I was bummed and pissed off for a day or so. It started to occur to me that this could be the best thing that ever happened. Because again, Mark Cuban, yeah, he loves me on camera. I'm a brilliant guy with a brilliant idea. We're going to save lives. Even if we made a deal, what do you think was going to happen? Mark Cuban would have his 30-year-old assistant bugging the shit out of me every week, saying, "Why are you still in Hawaii? Why is the factory there? Why are you only doing X trade show? You should be at a trade show every week." And those are all true statements. But I don't want to do any of that. I want to grow it at my pace and not be controlled by someone that's looking at only the bottom line and only looking at the calendar. So, you got to play the long game. And even in life, I mean, I'm so amped up. I'm looking in my life to relax. So I don't need to get more amped. I need to get more relaxed. So anything that can mellow me out is good.
Yeah, that's great. Jake, Jake, this is so funny because it reminds me of just like in real estate life, right? So Dr. Rob, Jake and I are both in real estate, and
That's
it's
a good
the
field.
difference between scaling in your like growing a bigger team and having
Right,
agents underneath you closing more deals,
right.
which is having a bigger manufacturer and having a whole staff of people where you're able to take
Yeah,
on more, or the opposite direction where you're able to be loose, you're able to shift,
right.
be and relax a little bit more, but still probably get the most amount of bang for your buck that you're putting in.
Exactly. I mean, the thing for me, my saying now, and I've had it my whole life, is I never want to be an employee. I never want to have an employee. Because managing people is a hassle. I don't know how people do it now with the phone. I could never pay someone and know they're scrolling every 5 minutes. In the old days, it was like cigarette breaks. What the hell? People are taking breaks all the time. Now, how do you even get someone's attention? The only way I would bring people in is on a contract basis. You do these 1,000 things, finish them, bring them back to me, and I'll pay you. I don't give a shit if you scroll all day. Whatever, you got to finish something, gig work, because I can't handle it. And I'm a softie too, and I don't want to be a hard ass telling you stop with the phone. It's like I can't take it.
Well, and technology, not your best friend, but technology
Yeah,
allows you to do
absolutely.
more and
That's
hire
true.
less.
No, and I talk a lot of shit about it, but I do
Yep.
use it. I mean, Amazon, I sell all my streamers on the consumer side pretty much through Amazon. So I have, and not even just Amazon, I have a rep that handles Amazon for me. So I have a bunch of virtual employees through the ability of technology. Absolutely. But I will not go AI yet. I mean, I'm fighting that, but I'm not, I just don't. But you're right. I do use technology as much as I'm comfortable with,
Yep.
Yeah.
and even PR. I mean, I'm using this.
Exactly.
So yes.
Totally.
I
So
have
one
no
thing
pants
you
on.
what so one thing that you put in your application that I thought was great was you 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 thought of an invention on your profile, and then you now changed it to you converted it 40 years later to now to military approved and all this. That's a big business. I
Right.
want to take a step back to that thought on your patio, which I love, by the way. Yeah, I just thought about this on my patio, such an everyday kind of
Right.
experience. What is step one for new entrepreneurs and
Okay.
and inventors?
Excellent question. I mean, to me, it used to be, and it's still the same thing, which is you get a book and you write everything down with a date and timestamp. That was part of it is to prove that you thought of it first. That's in the inventing world. But just as a scientist, you take notes and you do experiments and you keep track of what happened. And even the streamer, building it on my patio, the first one I built worked better than the second through the 15th I built, which didn't work at all. But because I kept that first one, I was able to realize I had glued down the struts differently, the spreader bars. So that enabled me. So taking notes, keeping track is the first thing. And the most important thing. And the other thing is to try a lot of things. I like to call it, it's kind of like micro, macro. No, macro, micro. So, and I like to do flash problem solving. And when I'm surfing or I'm fishing rough water, I feel like, okay, I might die. If something happens wrong, I'm out 20 miles out alone in my boat. I have 5 minutes and I have a bunch of stuff I'm looking around the boat saying, these are the materials I have. Here's the time I have. Solve the problem. Force yourself to look at all the materials. I used to go to Home Depot or Walmart and look at stuff, and people thought I was mentally ill because I would pick up stuff and start looking at the bottom piece that was on this buy it, I would break it for this piece. So the macro is you look at and how you solve problems and look at broad scope of the materials, then you focus it down. This is the right way. The streamer's the right way. Build it like this, test it, retest it, keep building it, keep track of it. And you know, the other thing is the first thing you have to do is make sure what you're inventing or starting people want, right? Because if you invent something that no one wants, that's bad. Number one. Number two, make sure there's a margin. Make sure you can make it for $5 and sell it for $20, something like that. And make sure that, you know, you can, the other thing that I didn't figure out till later is make sure ideally that it's small. So you don't have storage issues and you don't have shipping issues.
Shipping, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of my later inventions, which I love. I'm never going to build it because it's too big. I didn't even think of that. Is a water bicycle. And again, biomimicry. How does a fish swim? Big tail. How does a whale swim? There's a tail. Water bikes or any bike, or even boats have propellers. There's no propeller in nature. The only reason a propeller works is because of the engine. The electric or combustion engines can spin so fast, but nothing can spin something that. So I made a water bike with a tail. So you pedal it, and it's got this cool tail in the back flopping. I'm like, this is going to be killer. People are going to love this. And I'm like, okay, I started, and I got the patent and everything. I'm like, then I started thinking about it. I started building. I mean, even if I build one, where the hell am I going to put it? You know, in Hawaii, it works if you're near dock or water, but if it won't even fit in your closet. And where am I going to store them? How am I going to ship them? It was a bad idea. I should have started there to save myself
A lot of
some
time.
money on the patent.
Best things come in small packages. That's a Dylan quote.
You're Dylan or Bob Dylan?
Yeah, Bob
This Dylan.
Oh, I see. You're mocking. That's funny.
No. Dr.
No,
Bob,
it's true though.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Well, maybe that's something you license out then. That'd be
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but it did meet my first hoop, which is I want one. The streamer, I knew I wanted one, and I still have one. The other thing I made a mistake of, I'm not really a business guy. So when I invent something, I want it to work forever, never break, solve the problem unequivocally. That's what the streamer is. But guess what? It never wears out. So business wise, I'm an idiot.
Yeah,
the one that's on my boat is 30 years old, which to me is success. I don't give a shit about the money. I mean, I don't care.
Yeah,
the fact that I
you're
built
changing the
something,
world, man. Like,
right, and it's indestructible for the environment of salt water, sun, and when your ass is on the line, it has to work.
you're a doctor. Doctors save lives, but you're not in that field of doctor.
No, I'm a scientist.
I think
PhD.
you save more lives than a doctor.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Right?
I mean, that was the other thing. Growing up in Miami, especially, you had to be a doctor or a lawyer or you weren't successful. And my wife used to give me shit about the part of that patio, inventing it on the patio. She used to say, damn it, stop playing with that piece of plastic and get a real job. And you got to imagine the look I give. I turn around and look at her and say, fuck you. You know, I've been working on this forever. I believe in this. You got to believe in this. The money will come, but you have to respect the process. And the fact that you met me when I was a scientist, I was never going to be a stockbroker. I was never going to make millions. I told you I'd take you around the world and have this great adventurous life. And we did that. I think that there's something about applied research where and for me, it's been so easy to keep doing this because I know the feeling of that guy that thanked me for saving him. Like, okay, well, that feeling is priceless, and feeling like you matter. I put a lot of my life into this thing, but it was a worthy thing. It wasn't just a widget to make money. It wasn't just some app to make it easier to order food or whatever, or anything. So I feel really good about it. And whether the money ever got huge or not, I really don't care. I mean, I need money, but I've made enough. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's the biggest thing is what's the purpose of it, you know?
Exactly. I think
you hit that.
No, and it's rare. I mean, it's hard to do this. It's really hard. I may make it sound and look easy, but the real truth is that you got to pursue these things anyway. Like your podcast, you too can become the next Joe Rogan or not, but it doesn't matter because you're trying, you're doing it. And exactly. And on your deathbed, you don't want to be sitting there going, man, I should have done that podcast because I knew it would have been good. No, you tried, you're doing it, you're trying. That is gratifying enough. That's why it's good to have the day job. You guys are realtors. That's perfect. You got the day job. You can be podcast heroes on the side. And I always say, never quit your day job so you can quit your day job. The point is you build up the other thing, your dream job or dream invention or dream business, to where it's making enough money to say screw you to your day job. But don't get confused on the time.
We're very aligned there. We're very aligned on a lot of your sayings and thought processes. We talk a lot about all those things on private and public episodes. Like this is very much our speed here.
Perfect.
Totally.
That's
great. And we'll have you back on when we're
absolutely
higher up in the ranks.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be harder for me to get on when you guys have like a booking agent and all that. And you're not Chelsea's cousin, are you?
Not that I know of. Okay. But she's also from New Jersey, so I get that a lot.
No, I know. That's why. It's the only reason I said that, because I know she's from New Jersey.
Yeah. No relation.
Okay. Well, probably better. Well, the other thing about success is if you earn it and you earn it independently. That's why I said to you about the 400 people in line for Shark Tank. I didn't want you to think my cousin's a producer on Shark Tank and got me. And I don't think they even do that, but still, you got to do the work. If you grind, the reward's better, period. And one of my other sayings is harder is better. And even for my kids, I used to root for bad shit to happen to them. Not really bad, but mild to moderate. So they have experience dealing with it.
Yeah.
And even the streamer, you know how hard it was to introduce this thing to a bunch of people that didn't want it, didn't want me to talk to them, didn't want anything. It's sweeter when you achieve something that's harder. And harder is better and simpler is better. So, they're kind of like, they seem like they're not congruous, but they are.
Totally. Dr. Rob, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can the people find you?
My pleasure. Just go to my Rob Yonover, just go on any of the social media things. I'm on all there, and website SeaRescueStreamer.com and Sea Rescue Streamer on Amazon if you want to buy one, or there's anywhere really. I'm all over. Luckily, unlike, your name is unique, your last name, but Handler, there might be a million of them. There's only one Yonover. They're related to me, for better or worse. So I have a unique name, which really helps in social media, right? I'm not like Rob Yonover 382 or something. So I'm on, and I'm not, the real, right? And I'm not really the best social media guy. You saw my phone, so I do iPad, but I post a lot. I don't post personal shit. I post like podcasts or professional stuff, but
awesome.
I still have a problem crossing over into my private life. I'm not really, I was taught you protect your privacy. So I don't want to see people I'm necessarily looking at what I do every.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's totally fair. But we'll link that all in the show notes.
Okay.
And
Well, great, guys.
everyone for listening, thank you so much for listening to the show. Follow along to the More Smarter Show.
Only if you like it.